38 people heard a woman screaming for her life, and not one of them picked up the phone. Not because they were monsters, not because they didn't care, but because each one of them was running the same cold, quiet calculation. Someone else will do it. Here's the part that should make your stomach drop. That same calculation is running inside your brain right now. And the strangest detail in this whole story isn't the 38 people. It's what happened to the one person who finally did something. This is worse than you think. March 13th, 1964, 3:15 in the morning, Kew Gardens, Queens, New York. Kitty Genovese was 28 years old. Dark hair, short, low heels. She'd just finished closing up the bar she managed and was walking from her car to her front door. 30 meters. That's it. 20 seconds of pavement under a cold yellow streetlight. She never made it. Winston Mosley, 29, had been watching her from the parking lot. He moved fast. He attacked her at 3:20 a.m. and Kitty screamed, loud, raw, desperate. "Oh my God, he stabbed me. Please help me." Lights flickered on. A man's voice dropped from a high window. "Leave that girl alone." Mosley pulled back, walked away. The lights went off. He came back. Nobody came down. Nobody called. Nobody opened a door. Mosley attacked her a second time at 3:28. Kitty dragged herself into the stairwell of her building, reaching for the mailbox for anything solid. She lay there for 35 minutes, still breathing, still conscious, still alive in the way that means there was still time. Still time for one phone call. No one called. Mosley returned at 3:35. This time he finished. Kitty Genovese died at 4:15 a.m. in a hallway, alone. The first person to call the police was Carl Ross, 35 years old, a neighbor in the same building. He called at 3:55, after he'd woken up a friend in another building to ask what he should do, after he sat with that question, after he drank some water. Police arrived in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. The New York Times ran the story 3 days later. The headline read, 37 who saw murder didn't call the police. The number was later confirmed as 38, and the whole country went still. People wanted to know, who were these people? What was wrong with them? What kind of hollow, pale, dead-inside human being watches a woman die and does nothing? That was the wrong question. Two psychologists, John Darley and Bib Latane, read that article and didn't feel disgust. They felt something sharper, curiosity, because they suspected those 38 people weren't broken. They were normal, and that was the part nobody wanted to say out loud. Darley and Latane built an experiment. Clean, tight, devastating. They put a participant in a room, alone, told them to talk through a microphone with other participants, who were actually pre-recorded actors. During the conversation, one voice started to stutter and shake, and said he was going into a seizure and needed help. When participants believed they were the only one listening, 85% left the room to get help. When they believed 4 other people were also listening, 31% did. Same voice, same words, same emergency. Just the idea of other people listening, and the chance of action fell by more than half. But it gets worse. This wasn't indifference. This was math. Your brain, every human brain, runs a silent, automatic calculation called diffusion of responsibility. When you're the only person in the room, 100% of the weight lands on you. It's heavy. It's undeniable. You can't look away from it. Add one other person. Your share drops to 50%. Add 10 people, you're down to 10%. Add 37 others, you're carrying 2.6% of a problem. Light enough that you stop feeling it entirely. And here is the twist you didn't see coming. Every single one of those 38 people was thinking the exact same thing. Someone else will call. All 38 of them, simultaneously. A perfect silent storm of inaction, not because anyone was cruel, but because everyone was ordinary. No villain, no monster, just 38 people running the same software at the same time. That's the bystander effect, and your brain is wired to do it. That wasn't even the strangest part. Darley and Latane kept going. They wanted to know what else, beyond the number of witnesses, was making people freeze. And they found the second mechanism. It's called pluralistic ignorance. Here is how it works. You're walking down the street. You see a man lying on the pavement. You can't tell if he's sick or sleeping or drunk. You look around. Other people are walking past. No one is stopping. No one looks alarmed. And so you conclude it must be fine. They know something I don't. But the person next to you is watching you and thinking the exact same thing. Every single person is reading the room. And every single person is reading it wrong. Because nobody actually knows. They're just mirroring each other's calm and calling that calm information. In one of Darley's experiments, participants sat alone in a room that began filling with smoke. When alone, 75% reported it within in 6 minutes. When placed with 2 actors trained to sit still and ignore the smoke, only 10% reported it. The room was filling with smoke. People watched it happen. And because no one else moved, they decided there was no emergency. 10%. And no one talked about this for nearly a decade. Here is the program running inside you right now. Not in a lab, not in a crisis. In your actual, ordinary, unremarkable daily life. Every single day, without knowing it, your brain is running this same cold, quiet equation, and it's been doing it since before you were born. When you see a post about something terrible happening somewhere in the world, and your thumb keeps scrolling, because surely someone with more information, more power, more time is already dealing with it. When a colleague gets talked over in a meeting and you notice it, you feel it, but the room stays quiet, and so you stay quiet too. When you open your phone and see a news alert about a crisis in a country you've never visited, and you feel a thin flicker of concern, and then you close the app. Not because you're cold, because 8 billion people are theoretically also looking at that same alert. Here's it scaled all the way up. When you're in a crowd and someone falls, and for one sharp half second, your legs don't move, that half second is the bystander effect. Your brain has already done the calculation before your eyes finish processing what they saw. It found 30 people nearby and divided the responsibility so thin you could see through it. You are not a bad person. You are a piece of evolutionary software that was written 200,000 years ago in a world where blending into the group meant surviving and acting alone meant dying. The software worked perfectly then. It still runs perfectly now. The only problem is, the world changed. The software didn't. In 2007, psychologist Mark Levine ran a different kind of test. Same basic setup, a person in need, bystanders watching, but he changed one variable, whether the witnesses knew each other. When the bystanders were strangers, the bystander effect appeared in full force. When the bystanders were friends, helping shot up dramatically, not because friends are braver, not because friendship builds courage or moral fiber, but because responsibility cannot dissolve into a crowd that has names. When you know the person standing next to you, when they have a face, a history, an expression you can read, your brain can no longer pretend they're handling it. They're not someone else. They're someone, and you're accountable to someone. That's the second twist. And it explains something that seems backwards at first. In real disasters, earthquakes, fires, shipwrecks, people often don't behave selfishly. They share food with strangers. They carry people they've never met. They go back into burning buildings. Because in disaster, the boundary between me and stranger goes soft and damp and collapses. You suddenly know the person next to you, not their name, but their reality. They're real. They're right here. They need something. Anonymity is the enemy, not apathy. Now, one more thing. The story this whole video began with, Kitty Genovese, 38 witnesses, no one called, turns out to be not entirely accurate. The number 38 was inflated. Many neighbors heard sounds but saw nothing. At least one person did call the police, but the operator was slow to respond. And a neighbor named Sophia Farrar, 32 years old, small, in her nightgown, did come down. She found Kitty in the stairwell and held her. Kitty Genovese did not die completely alone. The New York Times got key details wrong. The story, as printed, was partly myth, but here's what's strange and heavy about that. The myth launched one of the most important bodies of research in psychology. Darley and Latané read the story, designed the experiments, and proved something real, something that holds up across hundreds of replications, in dozens of countries, across every culture and demographic tested. The bystander effect is real. Diffusion of responsibility is real. Pluralistic ignorance is real. The story was wrong. The science it created was right. Kitty Genovese may not have died surrounded by 38 cold, indifferent faces, but somewhere, someone did. Sophia Farrar never fully explained why she went down. She didn't talk about bravery. She didn't talk about duty or instinct or training. She just said, I heard her and I knew it was her. That's it. That's the whole gap. Not courage, not moral strength, not being a better human being than the other 37. Just one moment before the brain finished calculating, before the software kicked on, before the responsibility got divided and thinned and spread across too many people to feel. Just one moment where Sophia Farrar heard a sound and recognized a person. You can't turn off the software. Nobody can. It will keep running, keep calculating, keep diffusing and dissolving your share of the weight until it disappears entirely. That's not a flaw. That's what it was built to do. But there is one thing that can slow it, just by a second, just long enough. Seeing the person who needs help as a person, not a situation, not a problem to be solved or an alert to be processed. A person with a name even if you don't know it. A body that's cold or in pain or scared. 1 second. That's the distance between you and all 37 others. The question isn't whether that moment will come. It will.